go ahead and give everybody like a definition of hanking. In Dayton, um, people selling drugs, they called it hanking. If a nigga was selling a lot of dope, they like, what I'm saying, I'm hanking.
Yeah.
So what I did it took and put a positive spin to it. So I took the word hanking and I made it stand for when you can supply the demand and consistently turn a profit.
This is a certified hood classic.
We've been had money. Money ain't nothing without us being together. It don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, friends benefits. Everybody travel from place to place and kick it with each other, and every place is like home.
Love Child got that sauce.
Let's get it.
Welcome to my city, Westwood, they know Ohio. Midwest players and hustlers, check the bio. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. I'm in love with the game. Run, Hopper, Norris, Cole. Ohio player self-made. Jam City, we on gold. M-double-G, yeah, money go getters. Real niggas bout that life. Niggas can't up with
They
us.
call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
Salute to all the hustle, Jay, Charlie, Bugs, and Round, Keith, Denny, Bert, Earl, the D-boys in the Allens, Chino and Lil J, Mac and Carleon, Skane, Key and Diamond Cut, DBM, you know we own. I used to cook the D, I did corn, shoot the 3, when he played for the Heats, then I flooded the streets. Hustle gang, that's my squad, that's my motherfucking team, just might be your worst nightmare or sell you a dream. We all about the money, up the system, they corrupt, ain't no credit, straight cash,
So I got my hustle up. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
Matter of fact, after you leave here, you end up getting your teeth on something and coming up with something better. You know what I'm saying? Like a new car, new house, maybe the kids get to go to school, private school, paid for, courtesy of the mom. You know what I'm saying? We pay. You know, that's simple. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funeral. Simple.
My boy Hankin TV, that's my dog. He gonna be on the channel real soon. I think tomorrow, man. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Hankin TV, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's my boy. He put dope content over there.
Hello everyone, it's your girl in the flesh, Colitha. And if you haven't already, go check out my viral series on TikTok at Colitha Bush 1, Married to an FBI Informant, where I detail my life all the way down to my demise of being married to an FBI informant. And if you haven't heard, now you know, your girl be hanking. Hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you all about how I was sentenced to nearly a decade of imprisonment by the United States government. I noticed that an SUV that had previously passed me like twice before was behind me now with red and blue lights flashing. They jumped out with FBI vests and guns pointed, telling me that I was under arrest. They handcuffed me in a matter of seconds and I was freaked out.
What's up with it? It's your boy Hankin TV. I want to thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I got a dope guest. I need y'all to go follow her on TikTok. She got a 40, I think it's at 46, 45 part series where she talk about being married to an FBI informant. It's definitely a movie. It's book worthy. Y'all already know I'm an author, so y'all know I'm real big on them books. So tonight we just really gonna dib and dab. We're gonna just touch on a few things, but go over there, man, and get the story. Go over there and listen to the series. It's definitely addicting. I've been listening to it every night as I'm going to sleep. So, man, just go over there to TikTok and make sure y'all follow him at Colitha Bush 1. Colitha Bush 1. How you doing?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm great. If you can, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Hello, well, I'm Colitha Bush. I have the series on TikTok, Married to an FBI Informant. It's a true story. I'm also big on advocating for criminal justice reform. I'm actually working right now to build my own organization, which will be an organization of only females. And the only thing that I would focus on in this organization is incarcerated females, women who are incarcerated.
Right. So in one of your stories, you said you was sentenced to over a decade in federal prison. So how much time was you sentenced to?
So I was sentenced to 96 months of federal imprisonment in the United States Federal Bureau of Prisons, which is 8 years.
Okay. So we're gonna kind of skip around. But we definitely gonna get there. So tell us where you from.
I'm from Port Arthur, Texas, a little small town, maybe 45 miles off the Louisiana border, but in between Beaumont and Houston.
Okay, so you was married to a guy as an FBI informant. So how was it for you growing up?
So I had a really normal and good childhood and upbringing. I had my all my grandparents at that time, my great grandparents, my mom and father. Of course, my mom and father are still together. There's 11 of us. We're all 1 year apart. I had a really good childhood. My mom was a stay-at-home mom until I think I was in the sixth grade. She finished her school and then she went to school to be a nurse. My daddy worked in the oil field, so he worked inside the refinery. So he was like the breadwinner of the family. So I had a pretty decent upbringing growing up.
Right. So growing up, was you into the street life or into messing with guys that was in the street?
Absolutely not. I didn't know nothing about the street life. Basically, it took me some time to catch on to some of the stuff that he was talking about. He was the first person that I came across that talked to me about can I say it on here?
Yeah, you can say it.
Drugs.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was the first person that talked to me about drugs. I really didn't know anything about drugs and things like that. Of course, I had heard it because growing up in the 80s and the 90s, there was a program called DARE back then where you had people that came to the school, police officers, people in law enforcement, and they would talk to us about different drugs and daring us to say no to drugs. So that was the most that I knew about drugs until I met him and he told me that's what he did for a living.
Okay, so me myself, I did 15 years in state prison, not federal prison. Um, so people who are not familiar with federal prison, explain to them what Rule 35B is.
So Rule 35B is actually a corporation motion that your attorney can file on your behalf, saying that you are going to give information or you have information on a crime or a crime that's currently being committed or a crime that has already been committed. Whereas you will work with the government to reduce your sentence.
Okay, so we're gonna kind of work it backwards. So tell the people the business that your ex-husband has started.
So the business that he had was a third party cooperation service. So it was a firm. It had multiple people involved in this firm. I came in somewhere in 2012, just basically answering phone calls and taking messages and returning phone calls. So basically, from what he told me, he was as we tell the story. If they've seen the story, they know I talk about him cooperating with the government. And telling me about a court date. And I didn't know that he had been cooperating with the government for years. But from what he had told me and from what the FBI and the feds had told me some years prior, I had no reason to believe that it wasn't true, that he was, doing these things.
Right. And the reason I brought up the Rule 35B because y'all started a business and tell the people what the business did, what y'all did.
So basically, the business did, we took information from people who were incarcerated or their family members. They would call in. How these people had the number, it was like, I don't know, it must have was floating around. So you would get hundreds of phone calls a day from inmates who were incarcerated in prison. And they would be calling saying, they had information or that they knew of crimes and they wanted to cooperate so that they can get a sentence reduction. So most of the time they would send their paperwork in or have somebody on the outside, which mostly we dealt with the families on money transactions. They were the people that would send in money on the person for the person who was incarcerated trying to get their sentence reduced.
Right. And I'll say that to say, so in other words, it's a lot of people that's snitching.
Oh yes. Oh yes, yes, yes.
And they
A
snitching,
lot.
they willing to
It's a
tell. That's
big. It's really a big thing. It's people that you would think that would never, when you look at their paperwork, some people been sitting on time before they decide that they want to do this, and it's some people who are fresh in the system that decide off the top this is what they want to do, and then you have some people who just want to do it. So it's absolutely a big business. So when you hear people saying, "Oh, this person ain't gonna snitch, that person ain't gonna snitch," I can guarantee you that you just don't know. There were top tier drug lords. There was so many people calling in that wanted to give information.
And I say that because here recently on social media been trending about third party cooperation.
Hmm.
Y'all hear that? It's definitely a lot of people are, snitching is kind of real big on the internet. I'm old school. I say I'm out the streets. So it don't even matter to me because snitching don't even mean what it used to mean.
No,
Okay.
absolutely it doesn't. Because anybody, if they want your best friend, because it's been cases where the government has said basically, because I told you I've spoken with agents and um, DEA agents and stuff for people and their attorneys and stuff. And it's people who will call in, and then when you start talking to the people on the other end, they're saying, "Hey, we're not working with this person. The only way we're going to work with this person is if this person give us," and I'm not going to say the name. They know exactly who we want. And you tell that person that person give you a name, and hopefully when you go back and tell this to the DEA agent, they go with it. And I've seen it happen. Yeah, that's the name we want. So, I mean, it's a big business. People, and this is not the only firm. Like people was like, "Oh, people do this." Absolutely, there's other third party cooperation firms out there that have been doing this forever.
And was it lucrative?
I would think so. Yes.
Well, y'all hear that? We be having these guys on the internet and talking about standing on business. Ain't gonna tell y'all hear about that third party cooperation. So how did you meet your ex husband?
So I met him when I was 16 years old. I was in high school, and I one of his family members was really good friends with my mom. And I was on my way to my cousin's house who stayed maybe like 3 blocks from me. And so we were walking over to her house, and I stopped because I seen my mom's friend out in front of his house. And so we're talking to him, and then this is his cousin. So then he comes out of nowhere, and he just started talking in the conversation. He's basically, telling me he's seen me around before and stuff at like a block party here or there or something like that. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't really know him at the time, but I just, he asked me for my number. I told him, "Hey, I don't have a number," because back then it was beepers. So he said, "Okay, well, here, I'm gonna give you my beeper number," and he gave me a code to put in for whenever I beeped him or whatnot. And so that's pretty much how everything came about. But the cousin that I'm talking about was like a friend of my mom's, and he's still a really good friend to me. He actually sent that person to prison for 20 years, which is his family member who forgave him afterwards, But yeah, that's pretty much how I met him, through that person.
Okay, is he still incarcerated?
My ex,
Yes.
yes, he's still incarcerated. I think his out date is not until 2032 or 33.
Hmm. So for the people who haven't watched the story, I'm encouraging y'all go over to TikTok and follow at Colitha Bush One and follow this series. So through watching the series, me personally, I've seen it should have been a bunch of times where you should have been done. What made you stay?
I don't know. I just feel like, we had kids together. I feel like it was a situation at that time where I was stuck and that I did not want to leave, even with everything that was happening. I started to live like inside my own bubble with him. But for the most part, I think it was just the fact that I didn't want to have to leave with my kids and have to start over all over. I think that's a fear for a lot of women, that it's either the leaving or the starting over part that's so hard. I mean, it's times where I wish I had left. It's times where I absolutely wanted to go out, but I didn't.
Okay, so like I say, we ain't gonna give up too much because we want the people to go over there and check out the full series. But tell us about the first time you found out he was cooperating with the government.
So I woke up one morning. We had two kids at this time, and he just out the blue got up that morning and told me he was finna go to court. He had never mentioned anything about court to me before. That was my first time hearing it. And so he was like, "Yeah, I got to go to court today. I might not be coming back. I might be looking at some time." So I was confused when he said that. I was like, "What do you mean?" Like, I was like, "We got two kids together. You talking about you finna go to court and you might not be coming back?" And so he was basically like, "Yeah, I'm gonna explain it to you later. I don't know how much time I'm looking at, but I have to go to court today, and I'm gonna have my mom get in contact with you if you don't hear back from me." So I was nervous that whole entire day. I didn't hear anything from his mom. I didn't call her. He never called and said anything. So I was just depressed, thinking that he was locked up. And so I think I even called the jail homes to see if he was there, and they kept saying they didn't have anybody by that name. Well, sometime early that morning, he came in and he was basically telling me I'm free. And he had like a 40 ounce in his hand and he was happy. And I was like, "You free?" And I wanted to know like what happened. And so basically that's when he went into the story of telling me how he couldn't tell me this stuff. That's why he was having to jump up and leave all the time and go, because these people was calling him. They was making him do these lie detector tests, that they were doing like a lot of things. And so he was like, his cousin, the one that I knew. So all these people had been getting arrested. And we didn't really know, he would come and tell me. He'll say, "Hey, you heard what happened to such and such?" And I would have never thought that he had anything to do with any of that stuff. And so that's when he told me that he had got popped, is the word that he said he used. He was like, "I got popped." And he said the guy name that popped him. And he said the feds came and he sold drugs to the person. And right after he sold the drugs to the person, the feds came in and knocked the door down and took him. And so they told him, "You know who we want, this and that and all kind of stuff like that." And he only spent that one night in jail, but they took care of it. So it was speculation that he had went to jail, but nobody could really prove it. Because I guess the person that had sold the drugs and popped him went around and told people that he had got busted. So at that point, his cousin and him, the cousin had heard this too, and they were really close, but he didn't do any dealings with him on that side for a long time. So he was working for years, basically trying to get this cousin, get other, I think it was another one of his relatives too, and it was some other people. So he basically told me that story, and I was just like shocked, like, but I didn't too much think nothing of it because I was like 19, 20 years old at the time. I didn't know anything about snitching like that. I just knew that he said that he had to work with the feds. And so sometime later happened, he ended up going back to the streets again, selling drugs, and one of his friends got busted. And so when the guy got busted, he gave the people his name. And so they started this immediate investigation on him because they told me later when they broke the story down to me, they basically told me that they were so shocked to hear his name because they had given him a deal that they have never given anybody because he had did so much good work for them.
Wow. Also pinned at the top of the comments, I had a link to the TikTok. I just had the TikTok on the screen. Best believe I am following her. I just don't know how to log into my TikTok on my computer. So I am following her on TikTok. Man, y'all go over there and follow the series. What made you want to start telling your story?
So it was actually a story that I was not ever gonna tell. And so I went through reform. I don't know if you know, I went through the Reform Alliance Institute because I really feel like after doing time incarcerated that I wanted to come out on the other side of it and actually help the people on the inside. After you see so many injustices while you're in there, you definitely want to look out for the people who are left behind. And so that kind of became like my passion or whatever. And so I met some really good people in this Institute, which is Reform Alliance out of New York. So one of the guys I was talking to about my story one day, and I was just like telling him stuff from it, and then we were just basically talking about my organization that I was trying to start. And when he heard the story, he was just like blown away. He was like, "Girl, that is a story that definitely needs to be told." And everybody speculated over the years. I never said anything about anything. People speculate here and there. There's all this money still left. It's all this kind of stuff. And I just never said anything about anything. But he told me, he said, "You need to tell that story because it can help so many people." And so I was really nervous about it because I felt like I didn't want to get the lash back, the negative. And he basically told me, Your audience is gonna find you, and it's gonna, of course, be people that's gonna not like this story. They're gonna say negative things, but you don't concentrate on that. You concentrate on the story. So that's what I started doing. I concentrated on the story, telling the story, being as accurate as possible. I haven't told a complete story because it's so much more that I feel like I would just put inside of a book instead of just like putting it out on the internet.
Right, right. So during these years, all this stuff he had going on, so you wasn't aware of it.
No, I absolutely believe what he said. He had me believing like only the people that know him. And I'm gonna go live tomorrow night. I'm gonna bring some people that was around him that hung out with him, so they can give their version of events because they're the only people who actually have been around that knew him. They could actually tell you exactly what type of person he was. So he had a large following. He was able to manipulate even all his friends into they was leaving their families and everybody. So we moved to Houston and all these people came with us to Houston. Like literally like 30 guys came to Houston with us. He put them up in hotels. They lived out for like 2 years, 2.5 years in Houston. But he has a really, really good mouthpiece. He's able to talk to you in a way that you're gonna, even if you know you're right, you're gonna start. Like I would always feel like when he finished his version of events that I was wrong. Like I had got it wrong some kind of way. It took me a while to realize that dang, he's a habitual liar. Like he's really when I started catching him and stuff, and I was like, so he'll really sit in my face and lie. He'll swear to God on this and all this, and I know for a fact that he's lying. And so that's when I started seeing, that he wasn't an honest person.
Right.
He
So
wasn't a humble person. He wasn't a person that everybody thought that he was. The people who didn't know him, they worshiped him. They looked down. I mean, they looked up to him. It was people that had called him God and stuff, and I just could not believe that.
so how do you think you missed the red flags in the beginning as far as him being an habitual liar?
I don't know. Probably just, well, I think that maybe it was because I was always taking care of home, taking care of the kids and stuff. I didn't have a lot of time. Like with him going to the strip clubs, I was never thinking anything wrong about it. Like at first I didn't have a problem with him going to the strip clubs. I never thought that he would be in the strip clubs sleeping around with other women or doing all those things until it actually came knocking at my door and I started actually looking into it because I was shocked. I was living in my bubble, taking care of my kids, being a family person. I had middle school kids, elementary kids, and little children at that time. So that's most likely how I missed it because I didn't pay attention to a lot of it.
Right. Um, y'all gonna have to go over there to get the complete facts on TikTok, but tell them how many children he had on you outside of y'all marriage.
So, like in the series, I'm talking about it, and people keep saying, "How many do he have?" So, I have 9 kids. Me and him, we have 9 kids together. So, by the time this case was over and everything came out, it was like 28 kids.
I mean, he had 19. Well, we don't.
And
Y'all
I
need to go
still
over there.
can't tell you. I honestly still can't tell you who all these kids are, but I know. I mean, some of them have never been DNA tested or anything like that, but that's the potential of the number right there. And I think one of my daughters, because my older kids, they talk to their father, and so I think my daughter told me that he may have told her that he had like 23 or 24 kids.
Hmm. And how many parts of the series do you have up now? How many actual
So
parts?
I'm on part. I completed part 49 last night and posted it, and today I'm gonna go ahead on and do part 50.
Part 50. So have you came up with a title of the book yet?
No,
Married to an FBI
it's
informant.
probably gonna be Married to an FBI Informant.
So it did come a time before you had went to jail that you was sick and tired and you was ready to leave and you didn't. So by then you think you was just so caught up in the web.
No, I wasn't caught up in it. So I was actually in the midst of making my plans. And me and him were like on really bad terms at that time. It was like so many things was going on. It's people popping up saying, he have a baby here, a baby there. And it was just going on. It was like a constant thing. And so at that point, I felt like this is out of control. And he would always sit there and he would just lie, lie, lie. And so it was just too much going on. It was too much with him in the streets. I'm trying to protect somebody who eventually in the end didn't care to protect me. And so it was a lot. So I was in a process. I was in a process at that time. Of course, at that time he was saying, if you leave, I'm coming too. So I was trying to figure out how that was gonna work, because I was telling my kids we're definitely moving, and he's saying he's coming too. So I guess the best thing happened was, there was no further feuding, because there were things that were said that I didn't talk about on TikTok, personal things that I think will make people hate him when I come out and say it, and I'm gonna express that in my book.
So, being married to an FBI informant, did he tell on you?
Oh, absolutely. He Right now, I believe, because me and him had a conversation, and I talk about that on part 49. He called me. We're talking about some of his stuff that I need to that he wanted me to be taken care of, that I stopped taking care of, like car notes and all these type of things. And I'm basically telling him, like, where you going? You don't need car notes to be paid. So now he's accusing me of trying to ruin his credit. And so we get into it over the phone. He's asking me about his belongings and stuff, in which I sold all his stuff. Everything he had, I sold it. And what I didn't sell, I offered it to his mom. She said, I don't have room in my garage for that amount of stuff when she came over. And so what I did was I trashed it. It was no way I was having to prepare myself and my kids for what was to come. And so I wasn't going to try to store and hold on to any of his things. And so he called me about that, and he was talking as if he was about to get out. And so then we get into it over the phone, because I was seeing somebody and he was worried about that. And he tells me, that basically, in his own words, like, I had been checkmated. Like, he told me that I was going to prison, that I might as well just forget about the kids and stuff, because he made sure that he involved me in this for a reason, because when he went back to he knew that he was going back to prison, and he wanted to make sure that I went with him. He told me that you will not be out here free living your life. Like, he literally told that to me. And I was shaking when he said. I was so angry. I was so mad. At that point, I had so much hatred for him. Like, you call me on the phone and you say this to me, and I'm already in the midst of a storm. Like, why would you do that to the mother of your children? Why would you want to see your children without both their mother and their father? Like, he was so very reckless, and he was very intentional with what he said. Then he sends me a message, and he's basically telling me how he should have stayed with his other baby mom, because she had his back, and that she would have had his back, because I think he was more mad at the fact that he had called me and asked me to cooperate with the government for him. He was basically telling me I needed to contact one of the agents, and he had information and all this stuff. And I was basically telling him, it's no way. Like, it's no way in hell that I'm doing that for him. Like, you have me in this, and you have yourself in this. You're going to have to find somebody else to do it.
Right. Man, I'm telling y'all need to go over here and check this out. It's definitely a deep story. So it was at one point in time where you, him, and the other baby mom was living together.
Yeah, so we all lived together for maybe 2.5 years, until he had got busted that time for the drugs. When he went back to prison, he ended up going to prison for, I want to say, 7 years, 6.5, 7 years.
Hmm. So let's talk about a little bit about the prison reform you do.
Okay, so right now, like I told you, I'm trying to start my organization. And I basically want to do prison reform, because, when I was incarcerated, there was a lot of things that I seen within the system that I felt like definitely needed change. There's the prison what is it, the Prison Rape Elimination Act, which was a bad major problem going on in federal prison when I was there, where the officers are having sex with inmates, impregnating them, and all this type of stuff. And I feel like, a lot of women have already been victimized, and they're incarcerated, and they continue to be victimized. And I feel like that law itself is not doing enough to protect the women who are incarcerated. So that's one thing that I stand firm on, is working with legislation to probably revamp that law to make it work. To whereas if an officer is doing this stuff, the penalty needs to for sure be prison time. It should not be resignation, and you're able to go to another facility and work later. It should automatically be prison time. So that's one thing that I want to focus on. Amongst compassionate release, I feel like it's a lot of people who are incarcerated, and they deserve a second chance. And they could be sick, it could be anything. And I feel like compassionate release is the best next option that could give these people relief. And even though it's a law, it's not being used enough. So I feel like that's one thing that I would definitely like to work with legislation on.
Right. And by you have been incarcerated yourself, how do you feel? Even before you was incarcerated, how did you feel about the guys telling on people to get their stuff out? How did you feel about the third party cooperation?
I looked at it as if it was actually a business. Like I thought it was, I felt like it was a business, that this is what people do, because basically it looked at like that's what people do. Like people literally call in and want to give information, or sometimes they'll say we started working with the government and then it didn't go through. Like it's all kind of different components that goes into third party cooperation. And I think the major thing on this case was the Fed said, because we don't charge anybody, or to we don't charge people or pay people for cooperation. And I absolutely know for a fact that is a lie. So in my case, I was just like, so they saying that they don't do it, but there's no way I'm talking to a DEA agent that's telling me I'm making sure my girls get paid for this and that, or whatever. Because I talk about the informants that I was talking to. I never met them, but I only talked to them. And so he had a couple of his friends who were around. They were all informants. It was all in the paperwork. My attorney was very upset about it. She felt like I was getting a very raw deal on this, because the people who were involved, these informants, they ended up with 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's all they got.
Right. We got somebody who came in late and they want to know how much time you did in the Fed.
So on my 8-year sentence, I came home at a little bit before 5.5 years. Reason I came home, I got a year of good time, and then in 2018, President Donald Trump passed the First Step Act. And so under the First Step Act, because of the programming that I did while I was incarcerated, I got another year off of my sentence, which sent me completely out the door with I want to say 6 or 7 months by the time I got my date that was left on that sentence. And so I went to the halfway house, only for like 2 weeks. I did 2 weeks in the halfway house, but I was still BOP custody because your custody doesn't end at that point. I was still BOP custody until last year in April, but I was still home. I was no
Right.
longer in the halfway house. I was just having to report to the halfway house, because even though you come home under the First Step Act, whatever, how much time you have left on that sentence, you have to complete that with the Federal Bureau of Prisons before you go. They turn you over to the United States Probation Department.
And it kind of let people know how lucrative um third party cooperation is when they say they don't when the feds say they don't pay people. Tell the people how much money the feds accused you of having through this
So
business.
yeah, so they never really had an exact count. Like they did this case so fast. Like even though they said it was going on for years, they did this whole thing in 9 months. They was able to do it with the help of one of his friends who was cooperating with the government, who told a lot of lies, who got away with a lot of stuff. So basically, it's a big business. Like the phone never stopped ringing. I'll tell you that.
Man, that's wild. So let's walk the people through the day that you was arrested.
So it was an early morning. It was like a regular morning for me. Got up, got my kids ready, my high schoolers. They left for the bus stop that morning. Their bus picked them up in the morning at like 5:50. Um, then my little kids, I was getting them ready for school. 3 of my daughters, I was getting them ready for school. They were in kindergarten, first and second grade. And then we headed to school, and I seen this cream tan looking SUV passed me, and then I also seen it pass me again while I was hugging them and watching them walk inside the building. And so I was headed back home, and out of nowhere, I seen the SUV again. But this time, I thought they were trying to pass me by, but they put the red and blue lights on, and they jumped out with these black vests that said FBI on them, and they're telling me that I'm under arrest and all kind of stuff. And so I was literally shaking, like I couldn't believe it. Like they're telling me you're under arrest, and they didn't tell me what I was under arrest for at that time. But it happened so fast. They threw me in this SUV, and then they kind of like turned the corner, came up and turned the corner again, because I started thinking in my head, oh, Lord Jesus, I hope that I did not just make a big mistake and let these people trick me into getting in this vehicle with them. So when they got up on my street, it was lit up with nothing but red and blue lights everywhere. It was all kind of unmarked SUVs and cars. I seen Fort Bend County Sheriff out there. I seen Harris County out there, and the SUV that I was in, I guess they were leading on the investigation. They drove up on the lawn really, really fast, and he pulled out a bullhorn and he started yelling for anybody in the house to come out with their hands up. But I was so scared and terrified because it was people on my porch with guns out and everything. And I knew that my two sons were in the house with their father, and my cousin, of course, he was there. He had came to stay the night before. And so I was crying and I was telling them, hey, my sons are in there. And I was telling them, hey, the door is not locked. I don't lock the door. It's not locked. And so the agent that was arresting me turned the doorknob and he told the officer that the door was unlocked, and they turned the doorknob and they went inside because they had that big stick that they used, that thing that they knocked the door in with, and they was banging on it, but he had never came out. The door never opened. And so they were getting ready to like knock the door in. And so I told them that, and the guys that were on the porch with the ski mask on and the camouflage, they like turned the doorknob and they all rushed in.
Mm.
So it was definitely a crazy, crazy morning. I didn't expect that. It was my daughter's birthday, and I had promised her that I was going to be at school to bring the cupcakes and the ice cream for the party, and that absolutely did not happen that day.
So going through all this, how did your kids receive it?
So I called my mom. I asked them when they arrested me, they had me in the SUV, but then they told me they was gonna let me out, and they took the cuffs off of me after everybody was in the house for a minute. They took me inside, and so it's people everywhere. They're asking me to open up the garage to raise that up. They're looking at the VIN numbers on the vehicles. They're basically going around inside the house with cameras out. They're recording things. He actually passes me by in handcuffs, and they basically tell me I cannot talk to him. They need me to go inside the master bedroom and retrieve him some pants and some shoes without shoestrings. So I went in the closet, I got that out, and I handed it to them, and they took him off to another part of the house, and they kept us completely separate. My cousin was there. My two sons were there. There was a lot going on at one time. I said, can I use the phone, please? And the lady told me, you can go ahead on and use your phone. And so the first person I called was my mom. So I called my mom and I'm crying and I'm telling her, Mom, listen, I need y'all to get out here right now. The feds are at my house and I'm finna go to jail. And then I didn't hear anything. Like the phone was silent. I was saying hello, hello. I didn't hear nothing. So I found out later when I said that, my mom said that just instantly when I said that, her blood pressure just shot up and she fainted. And so my daddy came and was asking her what happened. And so they called my other sisters and everybody got on the highway and they headed to me. But half of my family lived in Houston. So they placed calls to them, so everybody was en route. But I was gone before anybody got there. The agents was basically saying, hey, you need somebody to take your kids or we're going to call child services. And I was like, why do I need somebody to take my kids? And my cousin is here. He can stay here with my kids. And so my cousin ended up, they had me sign some papers and my cousin kept the kids until my family got there.
You also said
So my kids basically found out whenever my sisters and them started going to their schools that evening, and they were calling them, telling them, hey, they told the people at the school, we need to come and get these kids. But the people were saying, oh, y'all not on the paperwork. So my family called the my high schoolers and basically told them, hey, y'all walk out the building, we coming to get y'all. And so the kids left out the building and they took them with them. They came to the house. They couldn't get the little kids out of school, so they waited until after school to retrieve them. And then my mom ended up deciding that she was just going to take the kids and bring them back to Groves, where she lives at.
right. So when you eventually got sentenced to the feds and you was working your way up, was it hard for you to explain to your kids what was going on?
I couldn't. Like, I absolutely planned movie night, everything to sit down with them as this was progressing for me to tell them the dramatic change that may be about to occur. And every time I looked at them, I was never able to tell them. I could not tell them that, hey, y'all daddy, because they kept wanting to know what's going on with their dad. And my two sons kept telling people that their dad got shot by the police because I guess they seen all the guns and stuff. So they thought that when they didn't see him anymore, that he had got shot. And so I kept saying, no, he's not shot, that he had to go to school for a little while. So I lied and told my kids the whole time that I was going off to college. This is what I had five minor kids at that time. And so I'm telling these little kids that I'm going off to school. I never told them that I was going to jail. And I'm telling my big kids at that time the truth. Like, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna need y'all to do this. I'm gonna need y'all to make sure y'all stay together. I'm like giving them what I'm telling them, basically what they're gonna have to do, what I need for them to do if this does not go in my favor, because it's like things started just dwindling down, 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 down. It went from one thing to another, and it went from looking at, oh, one attorney saying, well, you're most likely gonna get probation, to, oh, you're looking at 2 to 5 years, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at 13 years. So it was a lot that transpired in that time.
Wow. And aside from himself, you also said it was some of his friends that was also working with the feds.
Oh yes, he had friends that were also signed up as informants with Houston Police Department. That person went to jail. Well, went to federal prison too. Another friend was signed up with the feds. He went to prison too. The other friend, he got a year. He went to prison too. These are all people who were actually signed up with law enforcement as informants.
And it was
But
one of
all
his
these people, all these people they got slaps on the wrist. They got a year, 2 years. The max one of his friends got that was signed up as an informant. He got, I think, close to 3 years or 3 years, and he had received $3.4 million in his name. I had no accounts affiliated with this at all, but I still got the bulk of the time.
and it was also one of his friends that was coming around every day that you kind of felt like that was the police.
Yeah, so I had started noticing that this dude was doing a lot of recording. Like, I had never seen him doing that at first, and I'm like, why he keep doing that? Like, he's recording our kids. And so my ex was a big gambler, so he would go to the casinos and he either win or he either lose. And he had been doing this for years and years and years. And so he had a casino style dice table at the house where he brought over people that he trusted, and they would shoot dice. Like, he would come in from the club early mornings and they would just shoot dice. And so I noticed that he was teaching my son, who was in high school, and I had his other two sons over from the other baby mom. He was teaching them how to play casino style dice. And then he started teaching our daughters how to play it, and he would give them money to play against him. And so they would either win or they would lose. But I started noticing that every time I would come out of my room, he would have his camera up in the corner on his phone, and he was like always recording. I was like, why are you recording this? And it came out to me later that he was recording this. So my brother, it was a time when my brother, I had two brothers that hung out with my husband for a minute. And they told me one night outside the club, they were standing in a huddle talking, and this person that was holding up the camera was jumping around, and that a phone hit the ground. And they picked up the phone, and on the phone, the only thing you can see on there was that it said FBI surveillance on it. And so they started saying, who this phone for? And nobody would claim it. Everybody was looking at it. And even the guy that I'm saying was working with them, he was acting like that wasn't his phone either. But my brother kept saying it was him because he was jumping around, it fell right by him. And so after I got arrested that day, he came to my house. He was at my house before my family got there. And my Amy showed up too when she heard my mom had called her sister. And I didn't too much hit on it on my video. Well, one of my cousins was involved in this because he had received over $750,000 in his name in an account for my husband. So my cousin ended up getting a little prison time from this. He ended up with 2 years. Well, his mom came over, and my sister will tell the story better than anybody. She said we're standing there, and this person that I'm telling y'all that I call a cameraman was so casual with everybody. He had them been inside my house packing up things, putting it in his car. And he said, yeah, because such and such, they finna go to his house and get him. They finna go get such and so. Everybody wondering, wait, how he know they go and get all these people? And so he said this to my Amy, and she literally passed out in the front yard. They said about 5 minutes later, the phone rung, and it was my cousin's girlfriend calling, crying, saying the feds had knocked their door in, and they was arresting him right now. So everybody wanted to know at that point, how do you know all these things? And he was basically acting like, oh, he didn't have no parts in this. He didn't really know what was going on, like he heard. But then it came out that I figured out that it was him. He had gotten out with indictments. He was passing them around Houston. And he was the only person involved in this whole investigation that didn't get prison time. Like, he got a better deal than my ex had. When the Fed said he got one night in jail, this person got no nights in jail at all.
So the money, the $750,000, all this money is coming from them working with the feds, or it's coming from gambling?
It's coming from the business. All this money is coming in from people. There's people that spend millions of dollars. There's one guy that spent maybe like $2 million on this for his son. There's people that was paying him however much money he asked for. So money was always coming in. He was telling me that when the money come in, that he had to take the money and give it to the people, like the feds, and that the feds would take this money and give him a portion of it out of it.
Hmm. So so really, so was anybody actually getting out though from the third party corporation?
I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think people actually got out from it. I don't think that anybody got out, because I told you it was a time when the people were calling back on the phone and they were looking for me and they were like, "Hey," even the agents had called. There were some agents that called me and was like, "Hey, the girls came out here, but they never came back." And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, they were supposed to be out there," because I knew he had went met with them and he had paid them money. So these girls were known for doing this type of work. And from my conversation with them, they basically told me they had done a lot of work and that they're not identified by names, they're identified by numbers. So the person that I was talking to a few times was their boss, who was a DEA agent that had used to work in the Eastern region, but he had now moved over to the Mississippi region. And so when the feds was like, "Oh, we don't pay people for this," I wasn't buying it, because why is their boss saying he's making sure these girls are going to get paid?
Right. I mean, it was somebody else that came in late. I had missed a question. They wanted to know if he was still locked up. Yeah, he's still locked up. And you say get out 2032?
2032, 2033 is one of them.
Mm. So in the end, when things began to come up, unravel apart, what type of signs was you? Did you sense it? Did you sense things was coming unraveling?
Okay, so it's a point that I briefly spoke about in the video in my story, but it was a point where it was too many people calling and they're trying to find out. We talked to the agent. They said nobody didn't show up, or we talked to the agents, and I'm trying to figure out why the work is not being done. Like, it was things that had happened and transpired and it wasn't adding up. And so I'm getting with him about this, and he's like, "Hold up, I'm taking care of it." And then he would take over these phone calls with these people. And then it came to the point where everybody, not everybody, some people you will hear from and then you wouldn't hear from them for a while, or you wouldn't hear from them again. So they were basically calling saying, "Hey, this work is not being done." I'm talking to the agents. They're still waiting for the people to come out. There was even somebody that called and said the agent said that the person has to be a family member or a relative to do this type of work for him. And, basically we were telling the people that, but we were also telling the people that don't worry about it, that the informers are going to go and talk to the agents and they're going to get it approved. And so basically, I figured out that he was lying. And he started basically blaming me at that point. He was telling me that, "Hey, you got to do what I say right now because I'm trying to fix this situation." And so I'm like, "Well, how are you trying to fix this situation? Like, what is really going on? Like, what is going on with these people work?" Like, then he started blaming it on everybody else but himself. He was like, "I sent them out there. I paid them. I don't know what's going on. They're not answering their phones." It was like all kind of things that was going on. And then at that time, he was also falling out with some of the people that was signed up as informants too. He was getting into it with them over money situations, like money that was stolen or was supposed to be given and wasn't given. It was like a lot of crazy stuff going on that I didn't even talk about.
Right. So by him cooperating with the feds, a lot of his friends cooperating with the feds, and then all the stuff he took you through, did that kind of make you look at men in a different light?
No, absolutely not. Because I know that most men are not like that. It was just that I had run across the wrong person. And I, for some reason, kept this person in my life. And I probably should have never looked back the first time. And I still sit sometime and I think, why did I even go back? Like, and it was just the fact that I think, like my mom, I talk a little bit about it. My mom and my dad been married forever. And so when he was incarcerated that time, when he got busted by the feds that second time, my mom stayed in constant contact with him. Like, she always felt bad for him. Like, he was getting the short end of the stick, but that's most likely because he was manipulating her.
Right.
And so she was basically telling me when he came home, you know, that's your kid's father or whatever. You need to try to at least try to give him a chance to make it work or whatever. And so I wasn't really going for it at first, but he was coming around. He was acting like, you know, he wanted to be in the kids' life. He was coming to get them. He was showing up at their practices. He was doing things that showed me that, you know, he actually did want to be in this again. And so eventually I ended up giving in to that. And that probably was my biggest mistake.
Right. But did it make you feel? Did it make you feel any type of way? The times that he kind of like ran off and left y'all for dead, like the time when
Oh yeah, I did feel some type of way because I feel like, hey, the first time when I was home and that happened and he was hanging out the window in my daughter's room, I could not believe that he had jumped out the window. Like, you ready to run and I'm going down these stairs and me and my kids are in the house and you ready to take a run. And so I was shocked about that. Like, I couldn't believe that he would do that. I would think that at least the man would go down the stairs to see what was going on. But I jumped up first and I automatically started going down the stairs when I heard the alarm going off in the house. And he automatically went to the first window he can get to and was out of it. And so that should have been a sign right there. And it was other times like he ran off, like he was telling me, hey, the house ain't safe. You know, you can't be here, I can't be here. And he was making it like it was nothing to just jump up and move.
he
And
went
I
straight
had
to the
little kids,
hotel?
new age kids. It was a lot. And so I was always stressed out, feeling like I was getting the short end of the stick, having to go out, find a new location, get with realtors, do all this different stuff. It was a lot.
All right, for the people who don't know, tell them what happened for him to be hanging out the window.
So we were at home and we were laying in the bed. We were watching a movie this night. The kids were in their rooms, sleep, and it was a big, like the alarm went off. We heard a boom sound, and so I automatically jumped up because he heard it too. He jumped up too, and I opened up the door to the room, and I automatically headed for the stairs, going down the stairs. And I was at first thinking that he was behind me, but when I turned around, when I was hitting on all the lights, he was nowhere to be found. And so I always feel like if something like this is happening, I'd rather meet the person than the person just come to me and catch me. And so I'm hitting all the lights, going through the whole house, checking everything. And of course, there's nobody there. So somebody did try to come in, but they didn't get in. And I guess the alarm scared them off. I get back up the stairs looking for him, and my little daughter, she's 2, I want to say at the time, she's sitting in her bed, and she tells me that because I don't see him anywhere. He's not in the master bedroom. He's not in the other room. So when I get to my daughter's room, she told me that daddy's out there. And so I go to the window, and sure enough, he's outside the window on the second story, hanging off. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, it's funny now, but it was not funny then. I was really mad. I was like, why are you out there? Like, what are you doing? And he started trying to tell me that he was going to make a run for it to go get help. And I was trying to figure out, we got cell phones. Why you can't just call 911? Because as I was going down the stairs, I was calling 911. And so, yeah, that was definitely crazy. And that was something that it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then, because what kind of man would be trying to run off and leave his family in harm's way?
Right. And how many actual times did somebody try to come in y'all's house while y'all was there?
So, oh my God. So that was that one time, Beaumont, but he had a history of this happening. He's been involved in multiple home invasions and robberies. Um, so when we moved in together, the plan was that he was just involved in a home invasion. That was a major case where these people got years of years of years, to the point where some of them ain't never coming out of prison. So he was involved in that home invasion, and at that point he decided that, hey, let's just move. We're gonna move out in Beaumont, far off. And so we moved in the suburbs of Beaumont, far off, where it was no drama, no nothing. And so the plan was that he wasn't supposed to bring anybody to the house. Well, of course, he always gets sloppy. He started bringing different friends around and bringing people over. And of course, where people know there's money at, you never know who's plotting on you. So that happened. Then we end up leaving there. He started telling me it's not safe here no more. We have to move, because that was the first time somebody had tried to come in our house. But he was running dice games throughout Beaumont. And he had all these people set up for security, and they would have at least 30, 40 people at one time at different locations. And so they got robbed one night. Everybody in this house got robbed at gunpoint. He didn't want me to know about it. He came home, and I noticed that he had brought people with him. And so they was in our house looking like they was reinforcing windows and doors. And I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going on. And he's telling me, go back upstairs. He going to talk to me later about it. And one of my friends called because her guy friend had hung out with him. And she was the one telling me, hey, They got robbed tonight. The people came in there and robbed every single person at gunpoint. And I was like, are you serious? And so now I'm mad. I'm going off on him because you bringing people to our homes. And it was actually people that he was hanging with who had set this robbery up with other people from the outside to come in and do this robbery as the story transpired. So we end up having to move from this location. So we moved to Houston. And our first location that we're in, somebody breaks in this house, attempted to break in when I was in there once, but breaks in 2 more times while I'm not home. So after that, we move again. He's telling me, hey, this place is not safe. We cannot live here. And so he runs off. I'm still stuck having to pack up, having my family come over. Because at that time, my mom and them had another place in Houston. So they were in Houston also because most of us was in the Houston area. So my mom and them, they're helping me pack up, helping me make arrangements to have to move. It's a lot going on. The only part he's playing in all this is financial support. And so we moved to this next location. We never have any problems at this location other than one of his friends telling him, hey, I know where you live at. And so he's telling the man, nobody know where I live at. And so the guy say, well, I'm going to pull up. And a guy pulls up at our house one day. And so he go ask this guy, how you know where I live? And this guy say, man, I looked up your wife and this and that. And so I was able to find out because this guy had worked had a federal job before. And so this guy ends up signed up as an informant for him. And so this guy did his research and found out where we lived at. And so I was uncomfortable with that. I said, but what kind of people hang with you that actually really want to know where you live at? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Who wants to know where you lay your head at that bad? And so we lived in this place until we moved. And when we moved to the next location, very quiet. We always moved in very nice neighborhoods and areas, no problems until the incident with my cousin, my family member.
And at one
And so
point,
that was the last attempt at that place. Maybe like I say a year and a few months before our arrest, this happened.
and at one point in time, you was in possession in the house of a large sum of money. How much money was it?
I was sitting on $2.5 million in cash in the house. And I'm thinking that I'm the only person that know this, but then soon rumors are getting out from all kind of people that I know. Hey, people know you got money. And I'm just like, wait, what people know I got money? So I'm denying this to anybody. Of course, you never want to let people know that you have that type of money inside your house. So apparently the people that he thought was closest to him, like the cameraman, they're running around and they're telling people that he got all this money in the house. And so he had money in the bank, but he had money inside the house. It was when we first moved together, he had all this money and he continued to have money coming in, cash amounts of money every day, 40, 50, $60,000 a day. And so it was stacking up. And so I was literally sitting on this money inside the house at this time and still not thinking of the complete dangers that could have been brought to me if the right person would have got a hold of that information.
Right. So do you think he started working with the feds like that after he had caught that first case?
Yeah, absolutely. After he caught that first case, and even I believe, like even now at this point, I know for sure he is doing things.
Mm.
And I'm gonna I need to pull out our transcript from court because when we were in court, which I'm gonna elaborate on in this next video, the things that his attorney was saying, and I was just sitting there like shaking my head. Like the work that he's gonna do for you guys, y'all are gonna see. And I was just like, if they didn't redact it from the transcript, but I was just shaking my head when they were saying this in court. I was just like, wow, like he doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Right. So after he caught that first case, was he still hustling or was he just gambling?
So after he caught the first case when he snitched out his cousin and everybody, he was straight. He was straight for like 7 years. And all of a sudden one day I come in the house and it's boxes everywhere with like 4 or 5 of his friends in there, and they tearing these boxes apart, and it's marijuana. It's nothing but marijuana. And so he decided that he was gonna get all this marijuana and they were gonna sell it real fast, and then he was gonna go get some big drugs. And so that's what he did. He went and started getting big drugs, and one of his friends got busted, and a friend ended up snitching him out. And the crazy thing about this was when that situation took place, 2 of the people that he still hung with all the way to the end. The cameraman, one of them, they were out there signing papers with the police when I went to jail that time with him. Like literally, my mom, everybody seen it. Like what? Like how does that happen? But he basically told me that he forgave them for that.
And you also talked about how when y'all had got arrested, how he was friendly with the agents.
Oh yeah. When I saw that, I could not believe it. Like he was walking with no cuffs on, smiling, going with them like he was going somewhere. And I was shocked. Like I was trying to figure out what's going on? Why is he walking with them smiling like it's nothing? But I soon figured out why he was doing that.
Because he was working. That's crazy. So, out of all this, what's one of the biggest lessons you think you took out of it?
Hey, when somebody is doing something illegal, if you even think or feel that somebody is doing something illegal, just exclude that person, stay away from that person. And also learn the laws that's governing you, because part of the reason that I was convicted is because I did not know some of these laws, that you can't do these things, you can't do that. And I was basically bought into a conspiracy. Whether I knew or didn't know, they said, hey, you should have known. Basically, that's what the Fed said. You should have known. And so I took away from that never again. Like if I have somebody that I'm talking to and they even start talking about something that's illegal, I don't want to hear that conversation, and I'm most likely not going to talk to you again, because I never want to be caught up in anything like that again in my life, because things can happen so fast and you can end up losing everything. Like I lost years of my life with my kids that I can't get back, and he didn't care. He doesn't care about that. He told me straight up, the kids still gonna keep growing. They still gonna be here.
So, did you got out on bond, right?
Yeah, so I got out on bond.
So when you was out on bond, what was like some of the gossip and stuff that was going around like y'all circle?
Basically, I was told straight up that I could not talk to nobody who was in the indictments. And so I didn't have any communication with anybody that was inside the indictments, including my cousin. I couldn't communicate with him at all. And, basically probation came over to my house. They did their little walkthrough. They put me on an electronic monitoring device. So for like 9 months, I wore a monitor on my leg, which was GPS. And I was told I had a perimeter that I can go to, and it wasn't, basically I don't know what everybody was saying. I just knew that this one person that was holding up the camera all the time had been contacting everybody that they could and telling people to say this and say that. And I heard about this afterwards. Like even one of his family members told somebody that I know, yeah, he called me because he had got me to get this money. He told me to blame it on, my ex. And like he was going around trying to cover himself. And so he was going around telling people his own version of events, but nobody was really buying it. People was like, it don't make sense. You've been around him longer than anybody. Why everybody in jail and not you? And so he was trying to prove his case, and he's still trying to prove his case right now.
Mm. And what's some of the stuff that's people out there saying about him now? Are they calling him the police?
Oh yeah. So people, of course, people are saying it. They say they've been saying it. Like, I got people in my family that have seen him and talked to him, and he's basically trying to sell a story to people of how he didn't have anything to do with this. But I'm doing a live tomorrow night, and I'm gonna bring my cousin in on a live, and he's gonna show factual paperwork, a letter that this person wrote to him in prison, apologizing and basically telling that how the agents caught him, how he had to work with them, he had to basically report every 24 hours to them, and how they were telling him that he better come back with something good every time. So he's mad now that I'm telling this story, because he know it brings it back up again, that he actually was working with them and he didn't want anybody to know that. But hey, it's my story and I'm telling it. And if he got a story to tell, I encourage him to tell his part of the story.
Right. Well, I think this question I'm about to ask you now, this is gonna be the only little bit more we give them, because we're gonna make them check it out. Somebody want to know what type of relationship do you have with the other mothers of the kids?
Okay, so when I say my Atlanta baby, I still talk to her mom. She's doing really good. I told her first of the year we're gonna try to get together, and I get to see the kids and bring the kids to see their sister. And then the older kids, well, me and the other mom used to live together. His baby mom, who worked for the Fed, she ended up being arrested too. She went to federal prison. She lost her job. I haven't got to that point yet, but the me and those kids, we still have a relationship. We talk all the time. They one of them, my sister got on the police force with her, so we're they don't look at like they say at the end of the day they still out with daddy, and they love their mom, of course, and they got to know me over the years and stuff, and they love me. So that relationship is not strained. Like none of our relationships are strained. I know a lot of people ask me, how do your kids feel about this? And I always tell people, my kids who are grown have a relationship with him as for talking to him sometimes over the phone and email. And so they hear my story in real time as I'm telling it, but they were there for some of this. They didn't know all of this, but they were there for some of this. And so they're hearing it too. They follow me on social media. They don't comment. And they straight up told me, like, Mama, we support you 100% in everything that you're doing. We like that you're telling your story. But at the end of the day, that's our daddy. And I respect that. Because I would never tell my kids or anybody kids not to have a relationship with their father. We make mistakes. We do things. But at the end of the day, our relationship is over, but I want them to still have that relationship with him. And when he comes home, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But as for me and him, it's nothing.
Right. Do you think that you were so caring and accepted the other kids kind of because he was lacking so much, lacking in their life? Because you was like,
Well, I did that because I felt like, he was going around victimizing people. And I felt bad for these people. Like, you're victimizing people that are basically like your daughter's age out there. And people was like, oh, they had to have known about you, this and that. But I know him. I know what kind of manipulator he is. I know what lies he probably had told to these females. So at the end of the day, he was the person to blame. And I felt like he should have been responsible for his actions. I was literally sitting here, literally telling him, hey, okay, so we need to do this DNA test on this baby. Like, I'm standing by you, trying to support you, and you steady lying and playing in my face. Like, you steady was just lying and playing in my face. So it was like no respect. He would lie to me before he tell me the truth. He would swear to God he didn't know these people. He never met these people. They're lying. Oh, they're trying to scam money out of me. And just, it was always something, but it was never him. It was never him.
he even was trying to deny the kids that the DNA test proved was his.
Yes, he said, I don't know how they did that. He said the people, he told me the people was lying too. He was like, it's no way. I never, and then he said he never messed with them. And then it went from I never messed with them to if I did something like that, I had to be drunk and out of my mind. So it was just always something. It was always something. He was lying. I was having to go talk to attorneys for him for these paternity suits. It was just a lot of stuff. And I was basically drained, but I still had to keep going. I had my kids. I live for my kids. I love my kids. I do anything for them. So, you know, at the end of the day, everything was for them.
And this guy, he was pretty popular, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. They started calling him the king, had gave him a day in Houston. Everybody knew him. Like he had become a household name in the city of Houston. Everybody wanted to go to wherever he was at, they was coming. People were showing up. It was crazy. It was real crazy. I couldn't understand like why? Like why? But he had a good mouthpiece. Everybody trusted him, everybody believed him. And it's just one of those crazy things where you just don't know who you really dealing with.
Right. And do you have a schedule where you upload your stories?
No, I actually don't. So I try to tell people, they be like, "Could you do another one?" Well, I work a night job, so I'm a shift manager. So I work 7 days on and 7 days off. And so I was on my off days last week. Last night started my first night off. But I don't have a schedule. It's basically how I feel once I wake up for the day and get dressed and start moving around if I'm gonna do something. But yeah, they've been putting a lot of pressure on me.
Right. And how do you feel like the platform and the people are taking to your story?
I mean, I'm elated about that because I get so many messages every single day. I'm getting messages from young girls, from older women, from people just basically telling me thank you for the story. Like the story is something that I'm going through right now, or the story is something that I've been through. The story is helping us. The story is giving hope. And so it's a true story. It really happened. It's my life and stuff. And I didn't know that it was going to inspire so many people. And I'm happy that it has done that because I feel like the youth is our future. And that's one thing that I'm working on too. is being able to go back into the schools in my area and, tell my story and have people come and tell the story too. Because I think people are not keeping it real with our youth. That's why they're turning to the streets more and more and more these days. And so for me, because I have kids and I keep it real with them, I want to keep it real with all the kids, the youth that's coming up in the world. They need to be aware of the dangers that are lurking in the streets that they might not know about, because that's exactly what happened to me.
Right. I feel that same way. So is there anything else you want to do outside of getting your program started?
Well, actually, I want to start a podcast. It's been one of my things since I was incarcerated. I had talked about starting a podcast. I think that I'm gonna try to do that beginning of the year. I'm gonna start trying to get my stuff together where I can start a podcast, and I'm brainstorming right now on a name for it. But eventually, yeah, I have a podcast.
You already got the name for it. You didn't turn that. You can turn that into a brand, and it's already in the algorithm. Married to an
Yeah.
FBI informant.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I think about that as a name for it. But yeah, I want the my podcast to be the empowerment for women. I want to talk to the women who've been incarcerated like me. I feel like we need more platforms where people tell their stories. Like for me, it was a lot of shame associated with this relationship, a lot of guilt. I didn't talk about it. But I just remember when I was incarcerated and I looked around in the room and it was a room full of women that was just like me. Some kind of way that done fell victim to a man, and in some cases, they had taken cases for a man, and the man was free, and they was sitting in prison, hadn't heard from him. He hadn't put $1 on their books, and it was a sad story. And so, even though we were not relatable, we were still relatable in that way. So, different women from different walks of life, all sitting in prison behind most likely a man.
and when can the people be expecting the book?
I'm still working on it. I've been actually working on this book for 2 years, y'all. Something happened with parts of the book. I'm not gonna tell y'all, but I'm still working through. I'm trying to get it done. It's probably not gonna be just one book. It's probably gonna end up being multiple.
Right. And what can the people out there do to support you? What would you prefer to do? Follow
Just
your TikTok?
follow me on TikTok. Like my stories. When I finish with this series, I'm gonna start telling a new series, and it's gonna be based off of my time being incarcerated.
Okay. And tell the people the name of your TikTok again?
At Colitha Bush 1.
That's what's up. You got anything coming up far as with the reform?
I have a meeting with them on Monday, which we get together. No, Tuesday. We get together once a month and we talk about things. They're putting a brand new newsletter paper out now, and so I know they're gonna do a story on me. I'm waiting for them to interview me there. I have so many people that have reached out to me from organizations wanting me to join their organization. Also, it's so many people that want me to come on their podcast or to tell my story on their platform, and so I just have to schedule this stuff out. Even though I have those 7 off days, I'll be busy in those 7 off days. But I definitely want to make my rounds with everybody.
And in the beginning, when I asked you about people being informants, you said you thought that's what people was doing. But now that you
Yeah, I
know,
didn't.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I pretty much didn't know too much about the that game at that time. So when he was telling me that stuff, it wasn't no big deal. Like I had my own stuff going on in my life. It was no big deal what he was talking about. Basically, this is what people do, because that's what it seemed like. This is what people do. And when the phone was ringing, it was definitely to me what people do.
Right. And now that you've been there and you've been in prison, how do you feel about it?
Um, I mean, really, honestly, I don't feel no type of way about it. I kind of feel this way. I feel like when people are committing crimes and you're doing things with other people, it's always that risk and that chance that you're taking that you're going to be caught. The
Right.
best thing is to be held accountable, other than letting somebody have to snitch you out or somebody snitch. I feel like everybody needs to be held accountable for their actions. At the end of the day, people ask me, do you think your sentence was fair? And I would say, hell no. Like, I don't think my sentence was fair. Did I deserve to go to prison for some of what happened? Well, yeah. Was I a threat to society for where I needed to be incarcerated? No, society, nothing about me being incarcerated was going to hurt society. But at the end of the day, I had to be held responsible for my actions, the part that I played. People lost money in this. It hurt people, businesses, families, and everything. One person orchestrated all this stuff with us, the little millions behind him. So at the end of the day, I had to be held accountable for my actions. I'm telling my story because I know how notorious our government is. They'll put this story out on you, and it's not the backside of the story. It's their fancy word and what they're saying. And I just wanted to tell my story because I felt like, it was my time to put it out there so people could hear, hey, this is how everything actually went down. This was the whole play the whole time.
Right. So did you ever find out what the agents was doing with the information that he was giving them, and that the guys locked up was giving them? Was they actually going and pursuing those people?
I know for a fact they wanted to in most cases, but I don't know what was happening past that. Like I told you, they were calling back on the phone several times saying, hey, the person, they came out here, but they were supposed to come back. They never came back. So I don't know if the work proceeded or if it didn't proceed, because a lot of times I didn't hear from these people again.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm glad you home. You definitely went through a lot. I'm definitely waiting on that book to come out. I'm gonna catch up
Thank
with
you.
I'm gonna catch up with the rest of the series. I'm gonna catch up with the rest of the series tonight. Like I told you when we first came in, it's a long story. It's complex. I don't want to hold you long, so we definitely gonna have to do it again. You
Okay.
gotta give the people time to go and check out the series so they can have more questions.
Okay.
All right. Man, that's what's up. I definitely appreciate you for coming through, and I'm gonna be in contact.
Thank you. And I appreciate you for having me.
Okay, thank you. Y'all make sure y'all go over to TikTok and follow Colitha Bush, man, and get the story. She about to say she dropping one. I think said tomorrow night. It's definitely out tonight. Hold on, I'll add you back up. Boom. You say when?
I'm
Tonight?
gonna drop one tonight. I'm finna get ready to record it right now.
All
Because
right,
I know
y'all make
people
sure.
been hitting me up all day about it. So I'm finna go ahead on and drop part 50.
Okay. The link is pinned at the top, man. Y'all make sure y'all go over there and follow her and start following the series.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. That's what's up, man. Y'all make sure y'all slide over there. She said she dropping one tonight. Also, coming up Tuesday, we got a dope guest coming up. We going back to the beginning of the internet era. We got Gutter TV coming. Him and C Mad. They just dropped a project called Belly. If y'all haven't checked out my interview I got with C Mad, make sure y'all go and check it out. But we got Gutter TV coming up Tuesday. That's at the beginning of the internet, the DVD era. It's going up. So we definitely got a pioneer in the house. Y'all don't really want to ask too many questions because I have watched the series and I want y'all to go watch it. But I just wanted her to kind of I just wanted y'all to kind of like get a gist of the story to encourage y'all to go over and check out the series. Check out the series, man. She definitely a good storyteller. Yeah, that belly fire. I've been sharing it. But yeah, we got Gutter TV coming. Like I told y'all, if y'all ain't checked out my interview with C Mad, man, go check it out. We definitely gonna have to get him back on the platform because they dropping these projects. But man, go over there. It's a dope series. She's working on the book, and that lets y'all know right there how popular snitching is. Niggas is snitching. Motherfuckers get out here and talk all that stuff about they standing on business. Niggas is in there snitching, and they paying. They're trying to get out of jail. Y'all know we was just recently treating on the internet about third-party cooperation. So we know third-party cooperation is a thing and it's a business. It's companies out there that's working with guys that's locked up to do third-party cooperation, and they paying big money, man. And they paying big money. Hold on, let me hit this video for y'all. Y'all can get a for the people who came in late, man. Y'all go over there and follow Colitha Bush.
Hello, everyone. It's your girl in the flesh, Colitha. And if you haven't already, go check out my viral series on TikTok at Colitha Bush 1, Married to an FBI Informant, where I detail my life all the way down to my demise of being married to an FBI informant. And if you haven't heard, now you know. Your girl be Hankin. Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk to you all about how I was sentenced to nearly a decade of imprisonment by the United States government. I noticed that an SUV that had previously passed me like twice before was behind me now with red and blue lights flashing. They jumped out with FBI vests and guns pointed, telling me that I was under arrest. They handcuffed me in a matter of seconds, and I was freaked out.
I want to thank everybody, man, for tuning in tonight. Shout out to people for the super chats, the super stickers, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. And make sure y'all hit that like button. Don't forget, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going back up. We got Gutter TV coming through. And go check out that interview I got with C Mad. I'm out. I'm gonna go ahead and give everybody like a definition of hanking. In Dayton, people selling drugs, they call it hanking. You know, if a nigga was selling a lot of dope, they like, you know what I'm saying, I'm hanking.
Yeah.
So what I did it took and put a positive spin to it, you know. So I took the word hanking and I made it stand for when you can supply the demand and consistently turn a profit.
This is a certified hood classic.
We've been had money. Money ain't nothing without us being together. It don't make no difference if you the maid or if you the motherfucking bodyguard. Everybody get extras around here, fringe benefits. Everybody travel from place to place and kick it with each other, and every place is like home.
Love Child got that sauce.
Let's get it.
Welcome to my city, Westwood, ain't Ohio. Midwest players and hustlers, check the bio. They call me Hankin for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. I'm in love with the game. Run, Hopper, Norris, Cole. Ohio player self-made. Jam City, we on gold. M-double-G, yeah, money go killers. Real niggas bout that life. Niggas can't up with
They
us.
call me hanking for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me hanking for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
Salute to all the hustle, Jay, Charlie, Bugs, and Round, Keith, Denny, Bert, Earl, the D-boys in the alleys, Chino and Lil J, Mac and Carleon, Skane, Key and Diamond Cut, DBM, you know we own. I used to cook the D, I did corn, shoot the 3, when he played for the Heats, then I flooded the streets. Hustle gang, that's my squad, that's my motherfucking team. Just might be your worst nightmare or sell you a dream. We all about the money, up the system, they corrupt. Ain't no credit, straight cash, so I got my hustle up.
They call me hanking for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it. They call me hanking for a reason. If I said it, then I done it. I supply what they demand and make a profit from it.
Matter of fact, after you leave here, you end up getting your teeth on something and coming up with something better. You know what I'm saying? Like a new car, new house, maybe the kids get to go to school, private school, paid for, courtesy of the mom. You know what I'm saying? We pay. You know, that's simple. A lot of niggas don't like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this shit with us. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funeral. Simple.
My boy Hankin TV, that's my dog. He gonna be on the channel real soon. I think tomorrow, man. Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Hankin TV, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's my boy. He put dope content over there.
I'm the realest nigga in it.